The first thing you notice about Monaco is the light. It does not sit still. It moves across glass towers, skims the surface of the Mediterranean, and lingers on polished chrome as if everything here has been designed to reflect it. By late afternoon, the sun softens into gold, and the entire coastline begins to glow. This is when Monaco feels less like a place and more like a stage. And like any stage, entrances matter. Along the winding roads of Monte-Carlo, supercars appear one by one, not racing, not rushing. They arrive with intention. Each turn of the wheel, each shift of speed, feels measured. It is not about getting somewhere quickly. It is about being seen arriving, and then the door opens. A heel touches the ground. A hand adjusts a pair of sunglasses. A figure steps out, calm and composed, as if this moment has already played out in her mind long before it happened. This is Monaco's signature scene. Not just wealth on display, but control, presentation, timing, and often, at the center of it all, women who understand exactly how to command attention without ever asking for it. The arrival ritual. In Monaco, arrival is not casual. Even when it looks effortless, it is rarely accidental. A car slows just enough to draw attention, but not enough to disrupt the flow. The engine hums rather than roars. The driver knows the rhythm of the street, when to glide, when to pause, when to let the moment stretch for a second longer than expected. Then comes the exit. The door opens upward or outward, depending on the machine. There is no rush. Movements are deliberate. A pause, a step, a slight turn of the head, and just like that, the moment is complete. The women who master this ritual come from different backgrounds. Some are public figures with millions watching their every move. Others are almost invisible online, known only within private circles. Some built their wealth through business, others were born into it, and some entered this world through relationships that brought them close to power. But they all share one thing: awareness. They understand how they are seen. And more importantly, they understand how to shape that perception. The details that define presence. In a place where everyone has access to luxury, the difference comes down to detail. A dress is not just a dress. It is how it moves when the sea breeze catches it. It is how it fits when standing still. It is whether it feels natural or forced. Shoes are chosen not just for appearance, but for sound. The quiet, controlled click of heels against stone can signal confidence long before a word is spoken. Jewelry is rarely excessive. A single watch, a pair of earrings, a ring that catches light at just the right angle, enough to suggest wealth, but never enough to look like an attempt. Hair, makeup, posture, even the way a phone is held. Everything contributes to the overall impression. Nothing feels random, even when it appears relaxed. This is what separates presence from performance. Supercars as identity. The cars themselves are part of the language. In Monaco, a vehicle is not just transportation, it is a statement. A sleek black hypercar suggests restraint, control, power that does not need to be proven. A bright, high-gloss finish leans into visibility. It says the owner is comfortable being seen, perhaps even expects it. Classic cars tell a different story. They suggest history, taste, and a connection to something beyond the present moment. Limited edition models speak of access, not just money, but connections, the kind of relationships that open doors others cannot even see. But when women take the wheel, the message often shifts. There is less need for dominance, less need to prove status through excess. Instead, the focus is on alignment. The car matches the person. A woman in a minimalist outfit steps out of a quiet electric supercar. Clean lines, no noise, precision. Another arrives in a vintage convertible, her style echoing old Hollywood but updated with modern sharpness. A third chooses something bold, vibrant, unmistakable, not because she needs attention, but because she knows how to carry it. In each case, the car becomes part of the narrative. And in Monaco, narrative is everything. The harbor, floating wealth. Just beyond the streets lies another world entirely. The harbor is filled with yachts that do not feel real at first glance. They are too large, too polished, too precise. Each one is a floating statement of wealth, but also of lifestyle. On board, the rhythm is different. Days stretch longer. Time slows. Conversations happen over long lunches that turn into evening drinks. Deals are discussed quietly, often without ever being labeled as deals. For many of the women seen arriving in supercars, these yachts are extensions of their world. They move between land and sea seamlessly. A car arrival leads to a yacht departure. A dinner invitation turns into a weekend at sea. And in these spaces, the rules shift slightly. There is still elegance, still control, but there is also a layer of intimacy that does not exist on the street. Here, influence is built in quieter ways. A conversation that leads to an introduction. An introduction that leads to an opportunity. An opportunity that shapes the future. None of it is rushed. Everything unfolds at its own pace. Inside the casino nights. As night falls, Monaco changes again. The lights come on, not harsh, but warm. Streets glow, reflections deepen. The air cools just enough to shift the energy. This is when the social circuit intensifies. The casino becomes a focal point, not just for gambling, but for gathering. Inside, the atmosphere is controlled. Voices stay low. Movements are subtle. Even excitement is measured. The women who move through these spaces understand the tone. They do not need to be loud to be noticed. A glance across a table, a quiet exchange, a smile that lingers just long enough. These are the moments that matter. Fashion as strategy. Fashion in Monaco is not about chasing trends. It is about control and consistency. During the day, lighter tones dominate. Whites, creams, soft neutrals that reflect the brightness of the environment. In the evening, contrast appears. Darker shades, sharper silhouettes, but always balanced. There is rarely chaos. Even the most striking outfits feel intentional. Luxury brands are present, but logos are often subtle. The real signal comes from quality, fit, fabric, construction. A perfectly tailored blazer can say more than a heavily branded outfit. A simple dress, cut precisely, can stand out more than something overly complex. For the women who understand this, fashion becomes a tool. It communicates status, taste, and awareness without needing explanation. The social circuit, access and awareness. Monaco's social life is layered. There are public events, where cameras are expected and visibility is part of the experience. There are semi-private gatherings, where guest lists are curated but not entirely closed. And then there are private events, where access is limited and discretion is assumed. Moving between these layers requires awareness. Knowing where to be is important. Knowing when to leave is just as important. Some women choose visibility, building a public image that extends beyond Monaco. They share moments online, turning their lifestyle into content. Others remain almost entirely private, relying on reputation and direct connections. Both approaches work. But both require discipline, because in Monaco, access can be granted quickly, but it can also disappear without warning. Discretion as power. Despite the visible displays of wealth, Monaco operates on discretion. What happens behind closed doors often matters more than what happens in public. For women in this environment, discretion becomes a form of strength. It allows them to move freely without constant scrutiny. It creates a sense of mystery that draws attention without demanding it. And it signals trust, which is one of the most valuable currencies in elite circles. This does not mean they are invisible. It means they are selective. What they show is intentional. What they hide is equally important. The psychology of presence. At its core, Monaco is not just about wealth. It is about perception. How you are seen shapes how you are treated. This affects everything. The way people walk, the way they speak, the way they pause before answering a question. For women navigating this space, the balance is precise. Confidence without arrogance, elegance without stiffness, visibility without overexposure. This balance is learned over time. It is refined through experience. And once mastered, it becomes a powerful advantage. A day in motion. Morning in Monaco is quieter. The streets are calmer. The light is softer. Cafes begin to fill slowly. Some women start their day with fitness, a run along the coastline, a private training session, a swim in a rooftop pool overlooking the sea. Others begin with meetings, not always in offices, but in lounges, restaurants, or private spaces where business blends with lifestyle. By midday, the city begins to pick up energy. Lunch becomes a social event, not rushed, but extended. Conversations stretch, plans form. Afternoon transitions into preparation. Outfits change, plans adjust. The evening begins to take shape. And then, as the sun lowers, the cycle of arrivals begins again. Influence beyond visibility. Not all influence in Monaco is visible. Some of the most powerful women operate quietly. They invest, they advise, they connect people. Their presence is felt more than seen. They may not arrive in the most noticeable car or wear the most striking outfit, but their impact is undeniable. They understand that real power does not always need an audience. They leave behind presence,